little bit surprised to hear Gordon say what his plans were, given that he just got
Yeah,
appointed that.
exactly, that's what I was gonna
appeals
ask
board.
you.
Oh, yeah.
But he said he'll, I always forget that he flies free. So he said, I'll fly up if I have to for a meeting, so.
Keeps his residency.
Great?
Yeah, it's all on.
Okay. Okay, let's bring this meeting started. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will call this meeting of the Milton Planning Commission to order. It's whatever time it is, 7:01, I think. This is a regular meeting of the City of Milton Planning Commission. I'm George Ragsdale. This is a 7-member commission appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations on rezonings, use permits, concurrent variance applications, the comprehensive land use plan and plan map and other related plans, and amendments to the zoning ordinance. I'd like to introduce the members of the commission. To my left is Commissioner Fred Edwards, Commissioner Paul Moore, Commissioner Gary Burchett, Commissioner Mark Bittner, and Commissioner Peyton Jamison. Absent is Commissioner Chris Doty. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. I want to acquaint those of you that are here with some of the rules and procedures for conducting this meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present their petition. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. The opposition will also be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position, and if time remains, the opposition will be allowed to rebut. Since the burden of proof is on the applicant will be allowed to make closing comments provided time remains within the allotted 10 minutes. The community development staff will be keeping track of time on the clocks up on the wall and will inform you periodically of the remaining time for your presentation. Anyone who would like to speak tonight needs to fill out a yellow speaker's card and turn it in to Robin before you speak. All speakers will ask to identify themselves by name, address, and if you do represent any organization, to identify that organization before beginning your presentation. When an opponent of a rezoning action is made within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of a rezoning action being opposed, campaign contributions aggregating $250 or more to a local government official of the City of Milton, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority of the City of Milton at least 5 days prior to tonight's meeting. So a violation of that state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you have contributed $250 or more to any of the Milton Council members, and if you have not filed a disclosure prior to tonight's meeting, the City Attorney strongly suggests that you have someone else speak for your point of view. Each application has been properly filed with the Department of Community Development. Signs have been posted on each site, the matter has been advertised, and the notices have been mailed to property owners affected by the zoning as required by our ordinance. The Planning Commission's recommendations from tonight's meeting will be forwarded to the City of Milton Mayor and City Council for final disposition approximately 3.5 weeks from tonight on the third Monday in June. The Community Development Department has reviewed each application in conjunction with various agencies and departments, both internal and external to the city, and their recommendations, findings, and conclusions are here before us in written form and have also been made available to all petitioners and to the public. Demonstrations of any sort within the chamber tonight are prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, dialogue with the person speaking, or any outbursts, and we would ask that you turn off or at least silence any cell phones that you have with you. Any and all remarks that you have should be addressed to the Planning Commission. In addition, if you have any material that you want to present to the Planning Commission, we'd ask that you do that through Robin. Finally, to the applicant, if your petition is deferred in accordance with the zoning ordinance, you're required to update or obtain a new sign for reposting. And failure to update or repost will result in further delay. There are no exceptions. Having said all that, we'll start the meeting with public comment. This is a time in the meeting when anyone who's here that would like to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda, this is the opportunity to do that. Is there anyone here that would like to speak about something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we need a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Robin, call the first item.
Okay. The first item is approval of action minutes. We have January 22nd, 2013.
Okay, we're gonna have to be a little careful as we go through these tonight. The January 13th meeting, everyone was here, so we've got 5 people here, which is enough for a quorum. Were there any changes, corrections to the January 13th minutes?
On the second page, number 2, the RZ 1215,
Uh-huh.
the motion was made by Paul Moore and seconded by Kramer to close a public hearing. Motion passed, and then it says a motion was made by George Ragsdale and seconded by Joe Kramer to approve the request. So that's the request.
Right,
They
of the
requested-
RC 1215.
They requested a deferral, as I recall.
I was gonna say, what
Is that not correct,
request?
Robin?
Let's see, well, I can go by February's.
Yeah, we didn't hear it that night.
Okay.
That's the only thing, I couldn't, I thought it was
Look at my
denied, I mean,
master.
deferral, but I wasn't sure.
So February, rezoning. I don't have it on the February unless it was March.
It was March, if I recall.
Okay, let me look on my March.
Oh, no, it wasn't March.
No, I don't think it was, I think it was deferred before, I think it was deferred from the December meeting or the November meeting to that meeting. You're correct, it was deferred, but I think that was the date of the hearing. Let me see if I have an old,
Well, I don't wanna belabor it, just so we correct it, whatever.
I do have this. No, you guys, you did make a motion on it. I think it was deferred from, earlier. Let's see. Yeah, you deferred it on November 27th to the January 22nd meeting, so you did make the final
So we did
decision
hear it
in
that way.
January.
Hmm?
Cause I have the staff
Okay.
report.
Yeah, but I think Fred's right though, Robin, these minutes have gotta be expanded. It isn't clear from this what
Okay.
the motion
Yeah.
was, or even what the vote was.
You know what, you're right.
And then
That's the timer. I didn't finish it, you're right.
And the same thing on number 3,
With,
there's no
conclusion.
conclusion.
Yeah, cause I just didn't wanna figure it out. No, I'm just joking. Wait, that's weird, cause I worked on that one. Let's see. That was deferred. Yes, I needed to do the deferment. Because if you go to February, it is. Yes, that was deferred, so let me,
What was deferred?
the Dean Riappel, the U
Yeah, the
1201.
disposition of that's not in here either, you're right.
Okay, so let me go back and fix those.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll defer that one.
February 26th meeting, any changes, corrections?
I had a question.
Okay.
On page, I hate to be one of-
That's
No, no,
okay.
sorry, we got him right.
Page 2.
Okay.
Under condition, number 1, condition, replaced with 50-foot setback as proposed in the agreed upon landscape plan with Mr. Bateman be spread on the record. What's spread on the record?
And it means made a matter of the
Made-
public record.
made a matter,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
recorded.
Okay, thank you.
I don't even see what you're talking about there.
Where is it?
Page 2,
I see page 2, but where are you?
top of the page, condition.
I think you're in another.
Hey,
You're in a different format. You're using the original one, right?
What month is it?
No, that's March 26th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we
right,
didn't hear
that's
that
not-
till March.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Any changes in February? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve.
I move we approve the February 26, 2013 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Okay.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, now we,
Gary, just for the record, Robin, Gary abstained,
Right.
and so there were 4 of us in
Okay,
favor.
4, okay.
Okay, how about March? Fred, your question was about March, right?
Right, I'm sorry,
Okay.
yeah.
I see what you meant.
say it again, Fred. Oh, where it says.
Condition 1. Robin, it has nothing to do with the minutes, but while we're on this one, I think it was asked before, since that was approved at Monday's council meeting, do you know if these 3 conditions were included in the approved?
So 1 basically was dealt with. It was kept in the, it was spread on the record, as well as there was another property owner to the east that we had got, the applicant also had gotten the okay from.
Okay.
And then as to the building being constructed, I mean, basically I was telling, I think Paul earlier, that there'll be a handicapped porta-john that would be allowed because it's needed for the baseball field by code if a permanent one isn't constructed. And they would construct one at the time of the building being constructed, obviously. And then they did accept to have maybe Scott can help me out, what the hours of operation.
It's,
I don't know.
daylight only. There were no hours specifically, but it was specified daylight hours. The 75-foot.
Well, I'm just talking about, they're not asking,
Okay.
they're about there, so, but there was lighting, but with the night sky.
It
And
is.
no field lighting.
lighting and all outdoor lighting, must meet the City of Milton, night ordinance for
Yeah,
safety.
night sky,
Okay,
so
thank you.
basically, it's still safe.
Thank you. Any changes in the March minutes? You need a motion to approve?
Hang on 1 second, George.
Okay.
Okay, I move we accept the minutes of Tuesday, March 26th, 2013 as presented this evening.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 4 to nothing with 1 abstention. 2 abstentions, sorry. I forgot Peyton the last time, too, sorry.
Well, I had that, okay. Now, April 23rd.
April.
Yeah.
Different mix. You can vote this time.
Right.
Oh,
Changes, corrections?
Can we
Not-
vote
Not
on that
much
one,
there.
George?
Huh?
Can we, 1,
Yeah, we
2?
got enough. Mark and
Oh, 'cause-
myself and Gary and Peyton.
Oh, because Peyton was here.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Any changes in April minutes? Peyton? Okay, we need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013 minutes as presented.
Okay,
I'll second it.
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You can't vote.
4-0 and 2 abstentions. Okay.
Okay, the first item under rezonings and use permits is RZ 13-13 Manor Bridge Road by Westminster Place LLC to rezone from AG1 agricultural to CUP, community unit plan to develop 59 single-family 1-acre lots on 59.87 acres. This item is being administratively deferred to the June 25th Planning Commission meeting. A public hearing will still be held if needed. So is there anybody here other than the applicant who would like to speak on this item?
Anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular item?
We have the applicant here if you want
Yeah,
to speak.
I'd see that.
Okay.
Seeing none, we don't need to have a public hearing. We can just vote on the request for a deferral. We do need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Okay, Robin.
Next item, RZ 1314, 13175 Hopewell Road by Taurus Land Group LLC to rezone from AG1 to R3 residential to develop 11 single-family lots on 9.04 acres. And with that said, Kathy is ill today, so that's why she's not here. Apologize for not. Why is it not working? Have to turn it on. Okay. So as you see, this is the subject site at 13174 Hopewell Road, just north of Milton Place.
Robin, can you check and make sure your mic is on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be a little bit closer. It contains 9.04 acres, and there is one existing house to be demolished if the rezoning is approved. It's being proposed to be rezoned to R3 for 11 lots at 1.22 units per acre. The site is located within agricultural, estate, residential, and equestrian designation of the City of Milton 2030 Comprehensive Plan map. The applicant is also requesting connection to sanitary sewer for the site. Access is derived from the existing Newtown Drive, and not from Hopewell Road. This is existing zoning in the surrounding area. The future land use plan map, again, for the area. This is the site plan that was submitted April 2nd, and he just handed me a revised site plan to give to you. The only difference is that he's realigned the common area along Hopewell Road to have a 20-foot strip along the entire frontage so that a property owner in that first lot to the right could not take down the trees based on recommendations from the Design Review Board. Again, this is an entrance to Milton Place, Newtown Drive. Inner parcel looking north into the proposed site with the city car. This is along Hopewell. It was kind of difficult. I would have probably gotten killed trying to take more pictures, so I decided otherwise. Based on the applicant's site plan submitted, staff offers the following considerations. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I guess these are your standard R3 setbacks. He's not asking for any variances to the setbacks, but I will point out that he is asking for a minimum heated floor area per the letter of intent of 2,500 square feet. Regarding landscape strips and buffers, staff notes that 20-foot landscape strip and fencing are required around all detention ponds. Site plan does not indicate the required landscape strip and fencing. The fencing shall be a 6-foot-high, 5-board equestrian-style fence with 2-inch by 4-inch welded wire constructed around it. There are 2 stormwater facilities located on the property, one adjacent to Hopewell Road and on the eastern portion of the site. Pursuant to Section 642392, the zoning ordinance requires sidewalks, which shall be constructed in accordance with the Department of Public Works standards, which requires sidewalks on at least one side of the street. And it just goes into more detail about the construction. Also, the site plan does not indicate the required sidewalks, but a condition is included to provide a sidewalk on at least one side of the street. The applicant has submitted a letter requesting that public sanitary sewer be served to the subject site. It is attached at the end of the staff report for review. The subject site is not included in the intergovernmental agreement between Fulton County and the City of Milton to provide sewer service within certain properties of the City of Milton. Staff notes that without the service of public sewer to the site, the requested minimum 18,000 square foot lots cannot be developed, but minimum 1-acre lots served by individual septic systems can be developed. In regards to the environmental site analysis, the applicant submitted the report, and it is sufficient and satisfies the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The proposed site does not contain wetlands, historical sites, or sensitive plant and animal species, although the applicant has stated the following regarding the site. There's a stream flowing through the eastern portion of the property that has been located, and city buffers have been incorporated into the proposed site plan. Wetlands located on the site are located within the banks of the stream and will be protected by the buffers. The property contains a slope exceeding 25% west of the stream. If constructed, the subdivision would have to gain approval of a 3-phase erosion control plan and best management practices to mitigate any damage to the steep slope. In regards to the arborist comments, there are 2 specimen trees located on the site of which one shown is to be removed. That specific one is a poplar tree, 48 inches in diameter at breast height, which would equal 37.8 units, which would require 54 4-inch trees for recompense. This tree is a multi-trunked tree and in good condition. If the tree was a single trunk, staff would request reconfiguration of the lot to preserve it, but given the position on the site and is multi-trunked, removal and recompense is acceptable. In regards to Fulton County Schools, basically they're going to Cogburn Woods and Hopewell Middle School, which at this point is over capacity, and also to Cambridge High School, which is not. This is a financial modeling. Please excuse us. It's based on the 2011 fiscal year. We're waiting for updates, but as you go to the last year, there's fairly minimal impact on the financial situation or whatever you call it, effect on the city. As regards to public involvement, on April 24th, the applicant was present at the CZIM meeting right here, and there was no one in attendance for that item. And they've met the requirements of the public participation plan and report. Again, the Design Review Board on May 7th recommended preserve trees along Hopewell Road or replant trees if needed. In regards to the standards of review, the proposed 11-lot single-family residential subdivision developed at a density of 1.22 units per acre is consistent with the adjacent development to the south, Milton Place, zoned R3, pursuant to RZO 341, approved at a density of 1.67 units per acre. To the southeast is Coventry within the city of Alpharetta, zoned R5, pursuant to RZ 9375 at a density of 2.92 units per acre. To the east is Hopewell Plantation within the city of Alpharetta and Milton, zoned AG1. To the north and west, there are scattered single-family residences zoned, zoned AG1. They require 1-acre lots. It is staff's opinion that although the proposed use and density is suitable with adjacent properties to the south, I need to get a drink. For properties to the north, northeast, and east. In addition, the lot abutting Hopewell Road is not 1 acre in size as approved for other rezoning petitions along Hopewell Road. The other lot adjacent to Hopewell is proposed as a detention area. And this is just the various subdivisions in the surrounding area and their densities and the location of those subdivision rezoning. So. It is staff's opinion that the proposal may adversely affect existing use or usability of the adjacent properties to the north as described above. The proposed development does not provide a transition between the existing densities and uses to the north, northeast, and west. The subject site may have a reasonable use as currently zoned AG1. Staff does not anticipate a significant impact on public services or utilities. The estimated number of new students for the proposed rezoning, which will have an impact on Cogburn Woods Elementary and Hopewell Middle School. There is an existing curb cut on Hopewell Road via Newtown Drive that currently serves the Milton Place subdivision. The additional 11 lots will require the applicant to construct a left turn lane on Hopewell Road into the Newtown Drive. It is staff's opinion that the proposal will not cause a burden on transportation facilities if approved with the recommended conditions. Excuse me for the extra 5 there. In regards to whether the proposal is in conformity with the policy's intent of the land use plan, as stated before, the plan states it's agricultural, equestrian, and estate residential, and it is inconsistent with the proposed 1.22 units per acre. Whether there are other, although the proposed development is consistent with adjacent development, Milton Place it is inconsistent with the plan map recommendation of agricultural, equestrian, and estate residential, which requires minimum 1 acre lots and previous policy for 1 acre lots adjacent to Hopewell Road. Based on these facts, it is grounds to recommend denial of RZ 1314. The proposed use will not be environmentally adverse to the natural resources, environment, and citizens of the city due to the required development regulations as it pertains to stormwater facilities and tree recompense and landscape requirements. In conclusion, the proposed 11-lot single-family subdivision is inconsistent with the City of Milton's 2030 Comprehensive Land Use Plan map for A, E, and E designation. Therefore, staff recommends denial of RZ 1314 to rezone from AG1 to R3. A set of recommended conditions are included if the mayor and city council chooses to approve this petition. I won't go through every single condition, but if the Planning Commission chooses to approve, but I just want to have a couple highlights here. Obviously, it would be for the 11 lots if you chose to approve it at 1.22 units per acre. We would, if you chose to approve it, we would change it to a revised site plan on April 22nd. All areas, that's just general stuff about homeowners association. We've also required a minimum 1 acre lot developed for single-family residents along Hopewell Road. Minimum heated floor area would be 2,500 square feet. And then the Public Works Director included extend 5-foot concrete sidewalk that currently exists along the frontage of Milton Place subdivision along the entire frontage of the proposed development and provide for necessary drainage improvements. Secondly, he stated that he would require a southbound left turn lane on Hopewell Road at Newtown Drive in accordance with Chapter 48 streets. Also, maintain 50-foot right-of-way throughout the subdivision, provide 5-foot sidewalks with 2-foot beauty strip on at least one side of internal streets, and dedicate at least 10.5 feet of right-of-way from the back of curve, etc., to the city. Proposed right-of-way shall be located no closer than 1 foot behind the back of sidewalk. And then there's another condition regarding the stormwater requirements, as well as meeting the development standards for the stormwater management facility in regards to the fence and the 20-foot landscape strip. And lastly, prior to the issuance of a land disturbance permit, an amended intergovernmental agreement for extraterritorial provision of sewer service by Fulton County to certain property located within the city of Milton, indicating sewer service to this parcel described as 13174 Hopewell Road, must be approved by the Milton City Council and the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. And that concludes our staff report. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Robin. Any questions for staff?
I have a few.
Sure, go right ahead.
On Milton Place, when was that rezoned to
It
R?
was rezoned pursuant to RZ 2003-41, which was December of 2003.
And as far as the sewer is concerned, does that go through the I mean, we have a map that shows where does that go through all the parcels to the north?
Yes, it does. And also, there's actually a pump station along there next to the road on the right side of it as well.
North or south of it?
It's north of the subject
Okay.
side, I believe.
these parcel 9, 2, and 3, are those all sewer?
Where are you looking at? I'm sorry.
I guess if part on this map has.
Oh, okay.
So parcel,
9, yes, 9 and 2 are also sewered, yes.
and so
As
is it,
well as to the right, number 3 is actually, even though they're 1 acre lots, it appears they're sewered as well.
so I guess my question is, do you have any idea why this subject, this one, was left out of the sewer map by any chance?
I don't know why.
Oh, okay. So will this be connected to Milton Place?
Yes,
Okay.
the picture of that, Newtown Drive.
Right,
So that is actually a public section of the street I had the picture of.
right.
And so it would be connected through.
Okay.
So the only way to access it would be through the Milton Place subdivision.
Okay, got it, okay.
But Newton Place is a private drive beyond the gate,
Correct,
but in front of the gate, it's not a private drive?
correct. That's how Fulton County approved the subdivision.
Okay.
Remember, they changed that.
Say that again, Robin, I was confused by the drawing. The drawing shows New Prospect Drive is private, but Newton Drive is public.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to ask that way, George.
So, I mean, the Newtown Drive is, and then I guess it switches over at New Prospect, which was the gate right after that, at that intersection, I guess, or a little bit further in.
Gate's like right
Yeah.
here.
So the city would, even without this, the city is still maintaining that piece in front of the gate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Robin, I remember, I'm sorry. Was Peyton
You
finished?
got more?
I think I'm good for now.
Mark? Ariel? Paul?
Robin, did I read at one point that there was concern by a member of staff, it may have been Public Works, about the size of the cul-de-sac for the turnaround for fire trucks?
That was the fire marshal, so he had, when it would come before the development phase, he would have to meet with the regulation of that diameter. I can't remember what it was, 82 feet, I
I think it
believe.
was 85.
85.
Right in that range, but, so this drawing does not currently meet that standard?
That appears to be the fact, yes.
And does it also not meet the minimum width that staff is recommending? I think it was,
I believe
For
that
the roadway?
the right-of-way is correct, but the roadway is one way or the other. I can't remember when we were speaking of
yeah,
it.
I think it's 50 feet.
Yeah.
So he wants a 50-foot,
Right. This is 44.
see what it says.
I don't remember where I saw it. Oh, I think it's in.
It should be in the conditions.
Yeah.
Maintain 50-foot right-of-way throughout the subdivision. So currently he has a 44-foot right-of-way, so we'd have to add 6 more feet to the right-of-way. I believe he can have, I think he was okay with the 24-foot back of curve, but it was the right-of-way that he needed additional.
Paul?
That's all the questions I had for staff, George, thank you.
Good. Robin, I only have a couple of questions. When I look at the pre-application,
Right.
Yeah.
there were some changes in there. When were those changes made?
Prior to the application, of the actual application, which is.
The actual application then was submitted with NUP crossed out and R3
Right, yeah,
put
we
in?
do that sometimes if they change their proposed
But
rezoning.
They made those
request.
changes?
Yes. We spoke about it on the phone and then they gave it to me. and I said yes.
Um, ordinance, you talked about stormwater facilities being, or detention pond being both in the back and the front. On the drawing, I see the one in the back and that common area too. I don't see any designation in the front.
It's where the common area one would be, but you're correct, it doesn't call it out like it does in the rear.
Well, neither one really shows a detention pond. I guess I'm curious as to where they would actually put a pond in area one. Are both areas needed to meet the requirements of the ordinance?
That would be based on a hydrology study and further engineering, so I think it's just a estimation of what they would need, but you'd have to ask the applicant more specifically about
Okay.
that.
Okay. Applicant, we should, no, we were okay. The applicant, go ahead and present your case,
Yeah.
please.
Scott Reese.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I'm Scott Reese, Brumelo Reese & Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 3004. I'm here tonight representing Taurus Land Group in their application to rezone the property known as 13175 Hopewell Road from AG1 to R3. We're proposing 11 single-family lots on 9.04 acres. These lots are identical in size as the adjoining Milton Place subdivision. Although the CLUP designates the property as AG, it is our opinion that it is not feasible due to size and topography for this use. It does not qualify for the CUVA exemption, and there are extreme slopes on the property. The property is surrounded by properties that are developed in the same manner. The property directly adjacent to the south is the exact same size lots. The Vickery Crest subdivision south and west of the property is a mixed use with 15,000 square foot lots and 1 acre lots. Brookshade subdivision to the northwest is developed in a similar manner. Hopewell Close subdivision to the north, I guess due north, is also developed in a similar manner. The cost of the development with the 2 detention ponds, the road improvements, the sewer construction, make the property economically perilous to develop for a lower lot yield. As proposed, the property is under contract to Fuqua and Associates based upon the site plan submitted. They're proposing 4-sided brick homes that are in excess of 4,200 square feet for this development. We have met with homeowners associations and individuals in the surrounding neighborhoods. We have encountered no opposition. In fact, we have been cheered on for, I guess, after they have seen the product proposed by Mr. Fuqua. I know the sewer is somewhat of I guess, the intergovernmental agency connection. We have been in touch with both Fulton County Water and Sewer Department. There is existing sewer through the property that flows to the pump station to the north, but there is a manhole that was placed in the Milton Place subdivision that per the Fulton County Water and Sewer Department is the connection for this. Different, it's a technical connection, one being a force main, the other being gravity flow, but it is sited for. The Fulton County Health Department, they're specifying that if the property is developed with the proximity of public sewer in the interest of public health, it must be developed on sewer, no matter the lot size. I guess I will hold any other comments for questions. It's just that we feel like that this is the correct size lots and correct development for this property at this time. So I'll close and I'll be glad to answer any questions in the future. Thank you.
Okay, I have Ben Leonard. Would you like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, and
You're speaking in favor of, I assume?
Yes.
yes, yes, I am. And I'll keep it brief. I'm here on behalf, members of the commission, I'm here on behalf of Hopewell Plantation HOA, and I'll just be blunt. Our concern
Where do you
is,
live?
I'm sorry?
Where do you live?
1250 Hopewell Crest.
Did you say that and I missed it?
No.
No,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I should have said that. I'm sorry, I'm already
Sorry.
breaching protocol here. So, frankly, we just have really two concerns. That is the quality of the homes and the price points. We live in fear of tract housing, just to be blunt, being installed anywhere close to our neighborhood. You know, we all want to see our properties stay at or above the current market values, which, you know, as we all know, is in flux. I've had a couple of conversations with Mr. Reese. I've looked over the site plans. In addition to looking at pictures of the proposed housing, I've discussed it with all of the members of our HOA. We are in favor of this neighborhood as it has been proposed. We feel like it would be a good thing. It seems the intent is to sell this land, and at some point, you know, if the commission willing, it will be developed. This seems as good as any, if not better, product to be put on the land. So, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wants to speak on behalf of?
See, I have Mr. Cannon, but I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Don Cannon. I am a real estate broker with Keller Williams Commercial. I live at 2040 Emerald Drive in Loganville, Georgia, and I represent the seller, Ms. Susan Herring. I'm here simply to inform you that Ms. Herring is a resident of Calumet, Michigan, and is unable to be here tonight. She is a elderly lady, and she desires to sell this property. She needs to sell this property. She feels, as we do, that the proposed project that's before you tonight is one that provides the highest and best use for this property at this time, and we would certainly appreciate a favorable response and adoption by this and recommendation on to City Council for this particular project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application?
I don't have any more cards.
Okay. Any opposition? There's a fourth person out there.
Yeah, I know, I'm just checking to see if the speaker okay.
In favor, by the way.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
would
that's
need a
it.
motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? Let's start at the other end this time. Fred,
Well,
unless you want me to start Peyton since you're writing.
no.
Sure?
One of the concerns relative to that, the retention pond that's now what you call a common area. How do you see that designed in that very small amount of space,
You're referring to Common Area 1.
common area one?
Yes. The topography of the property is such that the vast majority of the flow is to the rear. But there is a cross drain, as shown on the site plan, under the street, and there is an area that flows to the west. So it would be a smaller, much smaller detention pond, but it must be addressed because of the flow, the natural flow. All of that will be handled in the LDP when the complete hydrology study is done. But in a preliminary study, you know, we find the high point of the property and the drainage areas, and as such, and we designate common area / stormwater areas for the potential. There may be adjustments in size, but that comes in with the full-blown hydrology study, and with the understanding that development cannot be produced or gone forward with until LDP approval, which will go through the full hydrology study and all the engineering studies. Okay. I will also state that the design that we submitted with the cul-de-sac and the right-of-way is based upon the existing ordinance as far as right-of-ways and radius sign. But, I understand that things are in flux, but, we did not pull these numbers out of the air. They're based upon the existing ordinance.
The other question that I've concerned was the fact that the response that you have based on the right-of-way going through there reduced from, or increased to 50 feet. When you say that based on the property sizes, you would not be able to meet that 50-foot right-of-way?
I mean, we'll touch, but as you would see, we tried to put a representative house size in for the development, and there is, would basically be taking 3 feet on either side of the road, and I don't see that as a deal killer. I mean, that will be, I'm sure, discussed separately. I have not seen the change to the ordinance as far as from a 44-foot dead-end street to a 50-foot right-of-way. So this is kind of news. I mean, the standard, there you have arterial roads, minor roads, major roads, and we had designed this road as a minor, which meets these standards.
That's all I have right now.
Paul?
George?
Thanks, George. Mr. Reese, what's the relationship with Milton Place that you're able to use that drive? Is that because it's a public road, you can come off of there?
Yes, the project, Milton Place, was originally permitted and designed in Fulton County prior to the City of Milton incorporation. At that time, they had a standard of interparcel connectivity.
Right.
And their plan was, as they looked at particular streets and saw the parcel sizing of existing lots, their thought was, we do not want subdivision street 200 feet, subdivision street 200 feet, subdivision street. So, and when we were developing, at that point in time, we were required to place streets at the highest level of sight distance required, and you designed interparcel connectivity. And that is the exact reason for this Newtown Drive, is the placement of the street, the existing street, and to stop another curb cut happening on Hopewell Road for traffic conditions as such. So it was a planned design by Fulton County at that time.
Okay.
But there's also a condition, if I have the conditions of that Milton Place, and it's a condition of the zoning is to provide that interparcel to the northern property.
Yeah, I remember, and we've certainly have contemplated some of those things too.
Well, we also have
City
that
of
same
Milton.
requirement too, that we require interparcel access for
But we typically mean where it's in addition to another entry. Or in this case, one of the things we've talked about not having is a single point of entry when it can be avoided for a neighborhood. Now, this is obviously only 11
Right,
lots.
right.
You wouldn't necessarily want to have 2 entrances for that single lot. But when I think about interparcel connectivity, and this wouldn't be this would not be the picture I would put next to that definition when there's not an access point for this development of its own.
I mean, I think Scott is correct in that, if you were to have another entrance off of Hopewell just 200 or 300 feet down the road, it's just not the best practice for transportation
Right.
design. So he is correct when he states that it was to help with the traffic flow.
And Mr. Reese, are you guys prepared to at least I'm going to ask differently, rather than say consider, are you prepared to accommodate some of the suggestions that were made in terms of the setbacks and to Fred's question as well, with the size of that common area 1, where you're asking us sort of on good faith to think about there's going to be room for a detention pond of some size there. Let me finish the question.
Well,
and then there's consideration of not losing a tree buffer from the road. How do you intend to accommodate that?
The, well, it will have to be, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts in the LDP process. I mean, it will go through several filters as far as design review. As far as sizing the pond, it must meet both detention requirements and stormwater management.
Right.
So if we have preliminarily undersized it, then the site plan or the preliminary plat will have to be adjusted to reflect that. You know, we are somewhat tied with the connectivity of the existing street. So, you know, from an engineering standpoint, you know, there may have to be a slight adjustment and working, you know, in that. But like I say, the vast majority of the property drains to the east, so we're not anticipating a large pond. But if it will not fit, it will not fit, and then redesign will happen.
Okay. And I think I heard 4,500 square foot proposed.
I think 4,200 was the number. That is, and this is, the property is under contract per this site plan.
Right.
You know, it is, and it is tied, the contract is tied. So if, you know, I don't know, you know, then it's legalese as far as the tweaking of the site plan. I don't know what you know, which straw breaks the camel's back. You know, is it a loss of a lot? Is it, you know, $300,000 in road improvements on Hopewell Road? That I'm not privy to. Don't really want to be privy to that information. But as exists, Fuquay Construction or Fuquay and Associates has this property under contract based upon this site plan, and they have given us the house plans, and I have examples of the homes if you would like to see those.
Yeah, I would like to see them. That's where I was going to go next. And do you know what the proposed price range is going to be?
The price range, I'm hesitant to address that. I had my hand slapped at the city of Alpharetta because I was told that is steering, that I was asked point blank what segment of the population was I trying to exclude. So I am no longer going to hesitate or grant any price points. But
Well, we're not the city of Alpharetta.
I understand. This was an attorney that, so, I mean, do the math. $110, $120 per square foot times 5,000.
Perfect.
You know,
Thank you.
but,
That's all I need.
Robin?
Yeah, and can I
Yes, ma'am.
make a comment? In the conditions, we only have 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Okay.
As far as the sidewalk, it will be on both sides of the street. No problem with that whatsoever. Trying to think what other conditions we were talking about.
And on Hopewell.
Well, I don't foresee any. I think we've always, the Milton Trail always comes up, but, you know, the 5 foot, but, you know, that would, I guess, will be addressed with city council.
I mean, the public works director is not on the Milton Trail, just wants the normal 5 foot, which is required by code anyway.
I'm
So
sorry, say that again, Rob.
the 5 foot along Hopewell would have been required by
By code.
by our code anyway, so.
Let me see what else I have questions. George, I think there was anything. Sorry. I think that's all I have for the moment, George.
Can I just attach one of the things that Paul brought up when we mentioned the sidewalk? I happen to live at Hopewell Place. To keep that sidewalk going from Milton Place and that retention bond seems to me to be a little difficult.
Well, Hopewell Road has an 80-foot right-of-way existing. So there is 40 feet from the center line to the right-of-way, and we can't,
So you can get-
we can't touch anything in
Right.
that. I mean, there's 30 feet of vacant space between the edge of pavement and the right-of-way. So, you know, you're talking about 2 feet off the edge of pavement plus 5. So I think we can fit 7 in the 30.
in that.
George, I have one more question that came to mind.
Sure.
And that is, you're, with the contract that you've got between Fuquay and Ms., was it Hemming?
Herring.
Herring. You know, one of the things that does come to mind for me is we do have a 1 acre minimum lot standard. I know that the sewer is accessible and that sometimes does affect that, but, you know, there's a reason that we built the 2030 land plan the way that it is, and is there room for lot redesign consideration in that contract?
No, it is the road improvements, the infrastructure, 2 detention ponds, 5 lots. There's no way that's economically feasible. Then it reverts to some other plan, either a minor or something. But it is the cost. I mean, you would be looking at $300,000 or $400,000 per lot if the yield was 5 lots on this particular.
Well, I'm not
piece.
suggesting that it's 5. I'm just suggesting that it's maybe something less than 11.
I understand. I was going with the 1 acre and the property. I mean, there's such a substantial portion there that's with the stream and the stream buffers and the extreme slopes that are basically unusable for anything except keeping trees and holding the world together.
Right.
The actual yield itself is going to be, it's not going to be, 1 acre on, 1 lot, 1 acre yield.
Well, there's other math that goes into that. You know, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is what is a true hardship versus a self-imposed hardship, and self-imposed hardship is some of the math.
Yes.
So we need to make
Yes,
sure that we
and
mention
we
those things.
fully understand that. Our opinion is, there is property surrounding this that is currently zoned and shown slated for a more densely developed. And, that I think of zoning in a progressive state, more dense, less dense. And that's, if we were 3 miles up the road on Hopewell Road, when the applicant would have came in, I would have basically said, you're surrounded by AG property.
Right.
He's not. He's surrounded by developed subdivisions, except for Kaisu, who just, enjoys his lifestyle on his across the street. And then these, 5 parcels, narrow strips up through there
Right.
that are not feasible for agricultural use in the real world.
Right. But you do, you do you amass the additional properties to the north, and all of a sudden I'm being asked again, or we're being asked again
Yeah.
to do the same.
It's just, when you're trying to guide 6 people in one direction, it's kind of like herding cats.
Yeah. Okay, that's all my questions for now, George,
Sure.
thank you.
No, I'm,
Okay.
yeah.
I have one more. Are these actual Fuquay?
Those were the original 6 homes in Vickery Crest that he purchased those lots originally, and then when the developer lost the remaining lots to the bank and Mr. Sharp took over, it's a different product, and he chose not to compete with Mr. Sharp in that price range. So those first 6 homes in Vickery Crest that were in the $700,000 to $900,000 were his, and those are the house plans that he's proposing to build on this site.
Thank you.
Mark?
I'm okay for now.
Okay, I have a couple. I'm a little confused about parties here. So the owner is Mrs. Herring. What is Taurus Land Group?
I guess they would qualify as quasi-developer.
What's the relationship between Taurus and Fuqua?
Fuqua is a home builder.
So who has the contract on the property?
There's a. Yeah,
Taurus has a contract with Ms. Herring.
yeah, and you have a copy of the contract.
And then,
Yeah, I just don't remember seeing it.
Mr. Fuqua has a contract
And what was
with
the
Taurus.
document in here too, George? It talks
His
about
Duke Land Road.
Duke
It's-
properties too.
They changed names.
So Taurus is Duke.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's where I was
One in the
going.
same and same in the one, and
Okay.
that's,
Just make things confusing for
yes.
everybody.
They just make mine and Robin's life happier.
When, and to Paul's point about hardship, when did Taurus sign the contract with Mrs. Herring?
You know, I don't have that copy in front of me.
Okay. So I thought maybe you do.
It's
I'll-
right, it's at the end of it, it's,
February 26,
yeah.
2013.
Okay. All right. My, look back in my asterisks. Look at my questions. Excuse me. There it is. What was the size of lot one on the original plan that was submitted versus the plan now? I couldn't read it on the smaller drawing. Right now, it's.
20,
Sorry, go ahead.
Went from 27 to 23.5.
28 to 23.5.
Yeah, lot 11.
I'm sorry, I meant lot 11. I
Yes.
apologize.
Yeah, lot 11, currently the new size is 22,861.
Yeah, I can read that one. I can't read the original.
It was approximately 28,000.
Yeah, but I have the other big one.
Okay.
Did I not give you a big site plan?
You gave me the big one, yeah, but I can't read the sign.
Oh.
I didn't pull out the big drawing, Robin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was, 2799.
Okay.
But in our DRB cursory presentation, they strongly suggested that we create some method to preserve a stand of trees or between. And my past experience was, no matter what we dictate on the plat, once someone owns the property, they own the property, and your control is limited thereof. So we have found that the only way to really maintain control is to separate the property from an individual homeowner.
I guess the only other question I have is related to the requirement for a left turn lane. I don't see anything, and maybe I don't see it on the drawing, but I don't see any provision for that left turn lane there. And I thought I heard you say something about maybe, it sounded like you were a little skeptical about whether that was going to be able to be done within the budget that you had.
Well, I mean, we received the staff report Friday, I think. So that was news to us. I've spoke with Carter. You know, typically 11 lots does not trigger a left turn lane. But since Milton Place was developed in Fulton County, I guess we're inheriting a little bit of someone else's problem. So, you know, it has not fully been determined the length of the stacking as far as, so until I guess a cost is placed completely on this, then I guess there is a little bit of flux.
Okay, so another way of saying that is if that's a condition that was proposed as part of the recommendation, it's not something you're in a position to accept right now.
Not I do not have that ability.
And the contract doesn't have that ability?
No, that is my understanding. That may be lending into legalese, but that's my understanding,
Okay.
in my opinion.
The last question I have is related to lot 6. if I'm doing the math right, and I probably not, but if I'm doing the math right, it looks like it's maybe a 50-foot front to back slope on that piece of property.
I think you're doing, if you're counting and multiplying by 2, then, but you're not, I mean, with a, 12-foot basement wall and, or maybe even a sub, I mean, we have developed on lots of this magnitude. It's not your preference, but, I promise you, there are lots in the Highlands and other lots around, and even some that are on sewer that you scratch your head, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Are you confident, I mean, I know it shows it on the drawing, but are you confident that 48-inch poplar is gonna be preserved?
Oh, no, we're showing it
not.
being
It's not preserved.
decimated.
Oh, I thought that was shown on there as being preserved.
Where I think we've got a house right in the
That's the one
middle
that
of it.
produces the 54 brick
Yeah.
house.
It's a double trunk, and of course, I mean, Mark and I do not always agree completely on the longevity and, that's why we just lost one on Thompson Road that he and I had a discussion about over the weekend. So. But it is a double trunk, and they're significantly less than a single trunk.
I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
I have one more, actually, it's for staff. Robin, when I'm looking at the list of people that were contacted, that, required for the public, community meetings, are the addresses that are listed,
Those are addresses that are, that's not the property address, but that's where on the tax records, their tax bills are sent.
right, so I guess my confusion is, it's saying Alpharetta even though it's a Milton place.
Yes, even the tax assessor still has everything, it's Alpharetta, even though when it's Milton.
Okay.
It's all still produced out of there, and they haven't changed the name.
Okay. That answers my question, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. We need to close the public hearing.
I move we close public hearing.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I mean, there's obviously an insurmountable object here, right? If between the city and Fulton County, they can't work out a change to the intergovernmental agreement, it all is going to naught,
Mute
right?
anyway.
It doesn't really matter what our point of view is.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, you guys already closed the public hearing,
Yes.
so, earlier,
We did?
yes. Paul and Mark, you did a closed public hearing
Close the public comments?
for public comment? I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, it was public comment, I don't usually do both public comment and public hearing,
Well,
it's all the same.
Ignore the earlier one, then.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, I just wanna be accurate. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, unless there's a modification of the intergovernmental sewer agreement, this whole discussion's kind of moot. I mean, is there I should have asked, is there a time limit on the contingent contract, the purchase contract?
It says May 31st, I think.
I didn't know whether it had changed from what.
We've anticipated, we've been in contact with Fulton County Water and Sewer and all. So we think the timelines are such that they will work.
Well, I think to Peyton's point, what I thought I saw was May 31st.
On the signed contract, it says binding until May 31st.
Yeah. I think,
You're
which
clearly
the
not gonna get it.
realtors are here and they can address that, I guess, better than
Okay.
I, as far as.
I mean, clearly, no matter what we do tonight, you're not gonna get a decision by May 31st. That's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah.
There could be amended.
Sorry?
Oh, you can come up if you wanna speak,
Sure.
sir.
We are working on an extension of this particular contract. So we've not concluded it yet, but that's what we're involved in at this point.
I see two hurdles, George. One is to your point, and the second is staff has proposed some conditions for us to consider, or for the mayor and council to consider. And if the contract between the builder and the landowner
Yeah.
can't address those, then it's almost moot for us to even consider staff's recommendations
Well,
when those can't be a condition of for the builder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna, obviously I don't wanna speak for anybody, but I mean, personally, it feels like there's enough stuff in flux that, you know, the right thing to do is to defer.
Yeah. That's
You know, I think if everything falls into place, conditions are satisfactory, they get the sewer, you know, it probably makes sense to go forward, but
Mhm.
I don't know that it makes, I don't think it's necessarily good sense for us to be making a recommendation to approve with so many things up in the air.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't think it would be right to deny if those things can get resolved.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a good product, and I think it's something that certainly fits, the product fits in Milton. You know, I have a long history in the record about how I feel about not holding to our land use plan and to sewer, but I'm also willing to consider, you know, I'm smart enough to know that, and asked as a representative of the community to consider things that make sense, and this is something that might make sense if we had a few more of those details defined.
Sure.
But from what I've seen and with the conditions that exist on this, I'm personally believe that approving it with the conditions would, if the conditions end up failing, it's gone anyway.
Mhm.
So why defer it when we can approve it with the conditions as in here? And if they are not able to satisfy the conditions, then it's dead.
Well, I agree with you with respect to the sewer. I guess my concern with respect to some of the conditions is that there hasn't been any indication that the applicant can or is willing to meet some of them, and so.
If they can't, then it's
Right.
dead anyway.
Yeah.
Can I throw something in? They're not just conditions. I mean, I know Mr. Reese has presented to you as though there's flexibility. It may or may not be with the right-of-way and internal, but the left turn lane is determined on different factors. So whether he was to develop this or his client were to develop it, it doesn't matter. Even if you took those conditions out, the public works director would still require the same thing. The only way that he could get out of it is to spend money on a expensive traffic report to prove otherwise, which it's highly likely it would not, because it's not just, it's based on the mile rate per hour, it's based on the number of trips down Hopewell, it's, even if we took the condition out, he'd still have to do it when it came to development time. So whether it's his client who's gonna develop it or somebody down the line, it's a requirement.
Yeah,
Just
well, that's not a
like
condition I would be willing to
detention.
take out, because I travel that road all the time in those hours, but it would be a nightmare to not have a turn lane there.
So I
Yeah.
just wanna clarify
We
that.
don't want to be introducing traffic hindrances when we're trying to make sure that as a city, we're a desirable place to live, where our traffic flow makes sense.
And I think it's the issue is whether their numbers work or not, that has no bearing on what our requirements
all
are,
right.
so.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still interested why there's sewer all around these 6 parcels. And
Because that's Fulton County, and
Yeah.
that happened
It's
before
just
we were a city.
Yeah.
And there was, and the maps that we adopted, there was, you may not
right.
remember, there was a lot of controversy about what was or wasn't going to be considered sewer, and if it wasn't on the map back then, it was not going to be a good idea to add it from the standpoint of what the public response was going to be. So that's the short history on a lot of painful meetings.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve RZ 13-14 with the conditions stipulated by the planning board.
I'll second that.
Okay. One question I would have on that, given what I understand, what's the minimum floor area for AG1 around 3,200
3,200 what?
Square feet.
No, 43560 for 1 acre.
No.
AG1.
No, size of residence.
There is, I think it's like a
Minimum
1,000.
heated
It's very
floor area.
minimal.
It's under what they're proposing.
I mean, it's way under.
For AG1.
For AG1, it's like 1,000 feet. It's.
Okay.
You'd have to look on your new
I think
zoning ordinance.
My new book.
I didn't bring mine since
Okay.
today.
Okay,
It's
I don't
way
have any other
below.
questions then. Any other discussion? Okay, motion, go ahead.
I just think that there's some merit to considering what George has proposed, which is a deferral to allow some of those things to fall into place. I think that if we move forward with a motion that's accepted tonight, or approved tonight, all we're doing is really pushing the work on somebody else rather than us doing the work.
I'm just curious, what do you want to fall into place? Beside, if the
Sewer is the
recommended,
most important for me, but I also think that there's some merit to the applicant parties talking about whether there's any flexibility to some of the things that are issues for us as a city. And if we don't have the benefit of those being discussed by them, we're then dealing with a self-imposed hardship. And that's not something I would feel very comfortable with. They're forcing their hardship on us, rather than us asking them to take some time and have the opportunity for discussion of any of those hardships, or not hardships, any of those conditions being proposed. They're just saying, you gotta take it or leave it as a city because our contractual agreement doesn't allow us to have those discussions. I'm pushing back and saying, I'd like you to have those discussions and come back to me and let me know what kind of flexibility you do have. Take the 30 days, see if the sewer can fall into place, and oh, by the way, have those other important conversations that are consistent with the things, the standards that we are setting as a city that have all come into place since we became a city.
Can I throw something in about the sewer? I'm trying to stay as, unbiased as possible, but the process that we told the applicant to do is to come, and this is what the city council has said for other property owners, i.e. Bethany Benz.
Mhm.
They've asked for sewer, and the council said, you need to show us a plan and come through zoning. This is what was also said to this applicant. So you're like, this is required to even get to the point, and that's why I made it a condition of zoning prior to the land disturbance permit, that they would have to have the intergovernmental agreement be modified to include this one.
Okay.
So if that's not, I'd be lying. I mean, they'd never get to that point if we just waited, because the way the process has been in the past is for the council wants to see what's going to be on the ground before they would consider amending the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay. Well, the rest of my statement still stands
Right.
about the ability to provide the consideration that we'd like, that I would like to see prior to moving it forward. I just think that without the ability to have those conversations, that it really limits what we're able to consider. And I think there are some considerations that have merit that won't compromise this development, that still produces the end product. The math on home values and cost of lot and street development, that's not our problem. That's the math that the developer has to do. That's the math that the landowner has to do. The landowner may have to reduce her cost per acre to make the developer's math work. And that's not a hardship that we need to take on. That's the hardship for them to figure out if it's not meeting the terms and conditions set forth by our ordinances. It's our charge to do our best to uphold our ordinances for all the reasons that they were written in the first place.
I agree with you. I guess part of my concern too is although there is somebody here tonight representing the owner, and I know this is not necessarily a likely scenario, but it is possible that if we make a recommendation to approve and council decides to accept that the developer's decision to go forward with it may take place after that. The decision not to go forward with it may take place after that. And then what would happen is that the owner would end up with a rezoned piece of land that's not going to be able to be done per the plan.
We do have a first and a second, so you just need to finish
Yeah.
out what
Yeah.
you're
Right,
doing.
understand.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the discussion that comes after that.
I think the thing that makes me more inclined to go along with it is that the adjoining neighborhood and the homeowners association is looking at it from their standpoint, is that if we don't get something like this that we're comfortable with to live with, and I've seen this happen, so I know how you feel. And this, to me, is an excellent looking development. The houses look like they're in line with the neighborhood that abuts it. And, I mean, something's gonna happen sooner or later. And I'm still
I'm also curious on the transition of, we got 1.64 acres, 2.92, and then 11111, and the proposed is what, 1.2 or something? So I'm trying for it to be a more, I guess the transition as it is just be 1.64 to 1, but as 1.22, I still think that's a smooth transition. And I was wondering on staff, y'all said it wouldn't be and I was curious on that as far as the transition, wouldn't be as smooth?
I mean, the point was it was consistent with what was to the south, but technically not consistent with the immediate north.
So it's almost like a flip
I
of-
mean,
Okay.
it's maybe splitting hairs. a
Right,
bit, but
okay.
It's not outlandish. It's not like it's 4 units per acre next door.
And, I mean, we haven't had any opposition as, I mean, there's no, so that's another thing I'm,
Right.
you know.
Can I ask a point of clarification to I didn't catch the gentleman's name who spoke on behalf of, I think it was Hopewell Plantation.
Ben Leonard.
Are you
Yeah,
rep-
Ben Leonard with Hopewell Plantation, yes.
Is Mr. Leonard representing that he speaks on behalf of the neighborhood? And if so, do we have an affidavit that allows him to do that?
He does indicate that as representing the HOA, and I do not have even the form here, so.
Okay, that's just something that, I
we can-
think it's great that we get that. If we're gonna allow that to be a hard and fast statement that we're gonna weigh heavily, we probably should have that affidavit that suggests that. He has that authority.
And also, just as a sidebar, I think that, I mean, I agree with you to have the affidavit. The last time this came up at a council meeting, the question of the affidavit of HOA is that there's nothing in state law or city law. I think it was a practice from Fulton County to make sure people were representing the associations and all that. So I just wanna, I don't disagree, I'm just throwing that out to say, we did research to make sure that
Yeah,
there was nothing.
You know, as available as easy as neighborhood-wide communication is these days, it's not hard to secure an email list that says, I'm thumbs up on X, Y, or Z person representing me with an affirmative on that, and I just would like to see us hold to some kind of a standard on that.
As a practical matter, we're kind of off the subject, but as a practical matter, most HOA covenants don't have any means of appointing somebody to speak on their behalf.
Right.
Usually it's the president or
But
board
he can-
directors.
But he can only speak on behalf of himself.
Yeah, but they represent the.
Sure, sure. Okay, we've got a question on the floor. We have been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, let's just restate the motion. The motion is to approve the RZ 13-14 with the conditions recommended by staff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys raise your hand because it's kind of, so we have, so motion fails.
How do you know? All those opposed?
Okay, all those, I'm sorry. I was just assuming, excuse me, I'm sorry.
And Chris picked a good meeting minutes, I guess.
Okay. We still need to dispose of this, so we
I'd
need
like to make a motion that we defer RZ 13-14 until the applicant can come back with the ability to discuss some of the conditions from staff and some of the questions this evening. And does or doesn't it make sense to include the discussion about sewer in that? And I'll suspend my motion till we have a little discussion about that.
We could discuss it, but nothing
You're
can
saying
happen.
it can't happen?
I mean, the only way to amend it is through one, that the council mandates it, and they will not mandate it until they see something.
Okay.
And
Then I'll
then
just
that's a
leave my-
separate action, actually, even from the zoning action afterwards.
Then I'll leave my motion where it stands. I'd like to propose that we defer RZ 13-14 for a minimum of 30 days, but not more than 60 days, to allow the applicant to go back and have the discussions necessary with all the parties to be able to come forward and have discussions with us to be able to answer the questions that we posed this evening
I'll second.
regarding conditions and other additional questions.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Suppose that's denied. What happens?
We go back to square one and
When we vote
talk
again.
about a different motion.
Another motion.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion approved. Okay. Next item, Robin.
The next item is RZ 1311, under text amendments to adopt a new use permit within Article 9, Division 5 miscellaneous uses, Section 64, 1841, row houses, parentheses, townhomes. So, this as an introduction, the current Deerfield Highway 9 form-based code allows for the development of row houses or townhomes with a use permit within certain transect zones and developed within a mixed-use development. The required use permit does not apply to the Crabapple form-based code based on the fact that it has been determined there should be higher density residential promoted in the Crabapple area. In addition, there are areas in the Deerfield Highway 9 that are encouraged to develop mixed-use developments where row houses are only a portion of the overall development. A new use permit for row houses is needed. The attached proposed use permit meets this requirement. Staff notes the normal public hearing process is required and is not an administrative use permit. In addition, staff has included row house to be synonymous with townhouse within section 64.1, which is definitions. And there are existing definitions within the form-based code portion of the ordinance for row house / townhouse. So if you just want to open up to discussion, any questions or comments or suggestions? And just FYI, the items after 3, the 4, 5, 6, and 7 are really reiterating what's already in the form-based code, but Kathy felt like it would be user-friendly to keep it in the use permit as well, so.
You got a typo in item 4.
That was George's,
Row
that's
house,
Fred's job.
Sorry.
I just pointed it out
He
to
did
him.
point it out. I did miss it.
Just a construction question, are we preserving 16839 for something else, 1839 for something else, or has it been used and just not made the code
I
yet?
believe we just did a use permit for apartments, so it's not codified yet in there, so it's not in there yet.
Okay,
So that's why there's a skip in the number.
okay.
Robin, how did we come up with 8 units in a building?
That was from the form-based code,
Okay.
so, like I said, everything 4 on is from the form-based code.
Well, 8 is number 2, that's not 4.
Oh, well, that, I think that's under the existing, what we have under our typical requirements for State Route 9 overlay, the original.
Robin, when I was reading number 3,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the retail office lodging portion of that. Can you, it's saying it shall be permitted subject to use permit only on sites where more than 50% of the local floor area is designated, is dedicated to that. I don't understand why there's that requirement.
The idea is that we don't just want to, as I stated in the memo, is that we want true mixed use. It's not, and that would force it to be true mixed use, that along with townhomes, that you would have to have some
So it-
combination of office, retail, lodging. I would suspect that's like a hotel. So you can't just do townhomes on their own.
Right. I want to read it in reverse then. So it's basically saying is that in T4 open, T5, and T6, at least 50%. No, I can't read it that way. I was going to say at least 50% of the area has to be, it has to have
Office, retail,
those.
or lodging, yes, you're right. Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
It is correct. I mean, it's even, it's balanced.
Okay. So we're not, so going back to what you were just saying as your answer to the first part of my question. So you're saying that the purpose of defining it this way is that you can't just put row houses up as a permitted style or application for land unless this other parameter is met.
Correct. And that's
Okay.
what's already in the form-based code, so this is directly out of the form-based code.
Okay, I like that.
And again, it's not in Crabapple, because we've contemplated it be more of a residential,
Yeah.
and it could
Mhm.
hold on,
Mhm.
capacitate the townhome type development.
So, if you think about Crabapple, the couple of those sort of tall, slender brownstones that are there,
Right.
those wouldn't be considered under this.
No.
That's a different number in,
That would be a
They're only-
single-family detached.
oh, those are single-family, aren't they?
They're
I was
all
thinking
detached.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just a
Never mind.
strange-looking detached, but
But
it
it-
is
Yeah.
detached.
Yeah,
I see, if they were all together.
it's a detached brownstone. When I think
Yeah.
about brownstones
If they
in
were all
New York.
together, the
The ones in
answer
Crab
would
Apple
be
Station,
yes.
I guess, but.
Right, I mean, there's
Right.
some in Crabapple
If
Station,
they were all
Yeah.
joined,
townhomes, different types. There's actually,
but it's the look.
yeah, there's triplexes, there's duplexes, there's townhomes in Crabapple Station.
Okay.
Robin, is the definition that you've shown here for 64-1 the same definition verbatim that's in the form-based code?
It is not. This is what is existing right now in the regular 64-1.
So what is the definition that's in the form-based code?
It is different, and I don't have it in front of me, and it's not codified. Wait, it is in that one.
Sorry, it is in what?
It is
It's
in
in
your
the-
new one.
it's in
So
this
if you
one?
go to the end,
Article 6, right?
because it's in Crabapple,
I asked you.
and it's the same definition, so if you read it to me, I can remember if it's the same.
Well, I'm not sure I'm looking at the right one. Is the very last one Crabapple? I'm looking for the beginning of it.
Well, I think it's that we
Yeah.
deleted Crabapple, and then we added the article at the end.
Crabapple's Article 19, and Article 6 does not have a definition for dwelling. Maybe it's got townhouses.
No, it's
and
yeah, it's
separate.
not by, see, that's the other problem, it's under dwelling instead of townhouse.
See rear yard building.
Yes, that's the same one. Building that occupies the full frontage line, leaving the rear of the lot as sole yard. Well,
Where are you, George?
let me just look on
Where
the internet,
it's
because I can access.
It's on page 377 at the very back of the code book. And it says rear yard building.
Yep.
That's the definition of townhouse. It's in the form-based code. Row house, townhouse, and apartment house.
Let me, I'm gonna go on to the meeting code, because that has it.
Robin, are you saying that's not it? Or
I don't think it is quite the same, but I'm double checking, because on Unicode it has our up-to-date. This, hasn't been codified yet, so that's why the Deerfield
So you're looking, George, for the rest of that to be stated there? 'Cause you,
No, I'm not. My only issue here, and you may have touched on a minute ago, is this is intended to be, to cover both residential and mixed use. And the definition of townhouse that's in the underlying ordinance says that you can't have one on top of another, and to me, that's inconsistent with a mixed use.
yeah.
And I don't know that that's the intent. I think they mean you can't have one townhouse on top of another townhouse, but
Right.
it doesn't say that.
Right.
And or at least it isn't clear that that's what it means.
Because then you're talking about apartment dwelling rather than,
Well, I mean, I think we've always talked about mixed use. One way of thinking about mixed use is to have the residential above the commercial or the retail,
above the retail,
right?
yeah.
So row house under Deerfield says, a single-family dwelling that shares a party wall with another of the same type and occupies the full frontage line.
Yep, that's on
Same.
page 378,
Right.
just like you read it.
So that's what it is for Deerfield. If it was two apartments, then they would need another use permit for apartments. So I think they are separated.
I mean, personally, I'm okay with the use permit. I'd like to see the definition modified to say located over another dwelling unit.
In this, what we have in front of us?
Yeah.
Then we can do it. It's open.
I mean, that's my only concern
Okay.
is that if it's contemplated for mixed use, a row house or a townhouse can sit on top of a retail or commercial use and still be considered a row house or a townhouse, I think. Not an apartment.
Yeah, so you've got a building that's got 4 retail spaces demised at 2,000 square feet each. You got a footprint of it's a sizable footprint.
Yeah.
And above that, you're dealing with the same 2,000 square foot footprint, it's the second floor. And as long as they share a common wall, as defined by row house defines it as residential only, in my mind. It doesn't accommodate the retail element of that. Just
Yeah, but that's
figure out-
okay. It can be just residential, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to your point, there's nothing in here that defines what you're saying, which is the retail down below, and it's still
Well, I'm looking at this definition.
Yeah,
I mean, somehow these definitions have got to be reconciled with each other.
yeah.
Because what you're talking about is basically what they call lofts or
Right,
condos
right,
above
right.
retail
See, I don't
space.
believe that that's a townhome, though.
No, it's not a
George.
townhome.
It's not. That would be multifamily or apartment. I mean, whether it's apartment for sale or for rent. I don't agree that you can put a townhouse on top of on top of a retail. That would just be considered a loft or condominium
But those
or
terms,
an apartment.
well, loft is.
Yeah, are they synonymous, or
Sorry?
are those, that the same thing? I mean, like in Crabapple,
There's some lofts.
there's some lofts, I guess, yeah.
But those are not townhomes.
Right,
They would
okay.
be considered, I
Right.
mean,
But we don't have a loft or a condominium definition either.
well, condominium would be under apartment, so we could, just did a.
loft is separate, sold separately.
Well, it can be rental or something,
Yeah.
we don't.
Well, I mean, but it.
Right.
Yeah, they can be separate units.
Right.
I mean,
Separate unit that was
Yeah.
sold.
You can take a big warehouse building and you divide it up into lofts, and each one of those lofts is sold separately, depending on whatever size it is. I mean,
Right.
you see that a lot in cities up north.
No, that's my fault. I don't know. I think of an apartment as a rental unit as opposed to ownership. I think of
Right.
townhomes and row houses as being.
I
owned.
agree.
Well, I do too, but,
As being
but they,
owned
they
as
do
well, yeah.
call, like in New York City, for instance, you can own an apartment,
Yeah,
and they're usually.
but this is in New York City.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that the definition can be, and you need to be
You're
explicit
right.
in
And
what you're
I
talking about.
The ordinance doesn't require ownership. An
You
apartment
can
is-
say, owned apartments or something
Right.
to designate that they are not rentals. That's the main
If I
thing.
think about the thing above a retail or commercial as an apartment, then the ordinance works fine.
I mean,
Just-
you're looking at Avalon,
You
which
just
is
have to
gonna be.
think about it as an apartment instead of a
Say that again,
townhouse.
George? If what?
The way the ordinance defines apartment, it works with the loft.
Mhm.
You just won't be able to call it a townhouse or a row house.
Mhm.
So well, the townhouse and the row house are contiguous dwelling units.
Yes.
I'm personally have no objections to what's here, except for the typo.
Typo, okay. So you're okay with the definition?
I'm okay with the definition and the use permit.
Okay.
Anybody else have any concerns, issues, questions?
We addressed mine.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
Can I have two different motions for each of the items, please?
Sure, let's start with the definition. Anybody?
So, yeah, I make a motion to approve RZ 13-11 as recommended by staff, as it
What you
is.
wanted to do, one, two.
That's all right, that's all right, don't worry about
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Don't worry about it.
So we're gonna,
I'll second it.
Yep.
so we're doing the
We're doing the use permit first with the typo corrected.
Okay.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Now do 12.
Go ahead, Peyton, you're on a roll.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve RZ 13-12.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank
Okay.
you. Anything else for the good of the cause?
And a motion to adjourn.
No, not yet. I'd just like to make a comment into the record that,
Go ahead, Gary.
No, I know what he's gonna say, so I'll
Go
let
ahead,
it go.
Gary.
we, I think I don't have permission to speak for the table, but,
Yeah, you did.
but certainly as a member who's been here with George for a long time, and for those of you who have served with him for a shorter period of time, we greatly appreciate the service that you have done for the city, from even
Thank you.
before we were a city. You've upheld tremendous standards for us to allow us to be a place that is a wonderful place to live and sought after by people far beyond the boundaries of our city. And we wouldn't be where we are, George, without your hard work from the very, very beginning. And you're
Appreciate
going to
that.
be sadly missed as a part of this council, sadly missed as a member of the community. And we appreciate all the hours and blood, sweat, and tears you put in to make it what it is.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you.
Now we can move forward.
Okay,
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Who did the second? I'm sorry, I was looking down.
I did.
Paul did.
Paul.
Oh, Robin, I forgot to give you this. You can have this too.
You know what's funny is you gave me this book, the planning commission, it's one of my professors, so I was like,
Oh, is that right?
yes, University of Cincinnati.
I didn't know whether you had the
Actually, George,
bottom book.
can I have your opening
I
statement?
think
Because
that is.
Oh, sure.
And then the current conditions
big
I have to
one
run the
is,
next
uh,
meeting.
Good point.
I know, it's like, you have to call ahead and say, stay open. Yeah, I know, you can walk, you can get drunk as a skunk, and that's fine.
Don't lock up, I was going in.
No. Why? Well, we can walk over. I mean, I can just keep them. I mean, you put him in front of his office.
What, on the floor? I mean, they're hangers.
Oh,
You locking up breakfast? We're on our way?
yeah. I don't,
That's right, I'll catch up with him another time.
okay, you think he was supposed to show up?
Yeah, he forgot. He texted me, he forgot he went to a scout meeting at Wills Park and forgot about coming.
Oh. You're so memorable.